Towing is a career full of different situations, from vehicles missing a wheel to having none at all. A great operator learns to use all the tools in both his physical and mental toolbox. I'm here today to tell you about a new, exciting tool to add to your physical toolbox, the BakPul hitch. Like many people on the internet, I had my doubts about this product. Doubts I personally aired on this podcast. But the fine folks over at BakPul Hitch sent me one of their products to try, and boy, was I surprised. Its quality of build and ease of use made me eat my words real quick. So if you're a doubter like I was, head over to bakpulhitches.com for more information and to find out how to add another tool to your toolbox. That's BAKPUL hitches.com.
With that being said, though, how many times have you ever been complimented out and about in the real world?
A lot. Do you know who I am?
No, but like just random people saying, "Hey, you look nice today," or "Hey, I really like your sunglasses," or "Hey, I really like that jacket on you." Shit like that.
I don't know, dude. I don't take note of that stuff. I mean, it might have. I don't know.
I've had one guy at the dump say, "Hey, man, that's a really nice truck." I was like, "Thank you," and it was like 2 weeks after I got it. That was the only I remember that one. I've also had 4 different people say, "I really like those sunglasses."
And that made you feel good?
That made me feel good because
See, I'm not like
I've never had that before. I don't get that. Nor do I really go out of my way to try to achieve that.
Yeah. We definitely, if I know that your love language is words of affirmation, G, I will give you more love. If that's what is this like, I love how I brought this up, and I feel like this is your subtle way of telling me. I just want you to tell me that I look nice.
I don't look nice, so you don't need to lie to my face.
But would you believe it if I even if I did say it, I was honest? Would you actually believe it?
The hole's dug too deep now. Anytime, if you ever try to tell me something nice about myself, I'm just thinking you're being sarcastic or just setting me up for a takedown in the next minute or two.
Well, in all fairness, at last year's Tow Show, you showed up with like dirty, greasy pants.
So it was a work shirt.
And a work shirt. Yeah, like a grease-stained work shirt.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to tell you look nice?
I don't want you to tell me I look nice.
When we work, well, yes, you do. That's your love language. We've established this now. That is your love language, and you need to be told daily that you look nice or that I like something about you. I'm going to make it my goal for the next 5 episodes. Mark this down. I wish we had producer Sarah. For the next 5 episodes, I will try and compliment you at least once. I mean, that's a tall task.
That's a tall task for you.
Gee, I really like your mug.
Which one?
The one you just drank out of.
Not this one?
I really like that one too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, episode 1 down. 4 more to go. Does it feel unnatural if I keep track?
Yes. It feels like you're trying too hard. Oh, perfect show topic. Perfect show topic.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is how the Towing Life podcast is really made.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not.
Your timing is shit. Hi. Is there ghosts?
No, I think the dog fell down the stairs.
I didn't even know you had a dog. When did you get a dog?
My mom's had a dog for years.
Oh, I don't remember seeing a dog.
Anywho, welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, G, and as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, the blooper roll for this episode is outstanding already. We've been recording for 13 minutes, and we're just getting through the intro now.
the fact that you just stopped mid-intro and said, I think my dog fell down the stairs and then did nothing about it is worth gold. I mean, right before this, I accidentally kicked my dog in the head trying to play with it. It wasn't very happy about it. And got my cat's tail stuck in a door because it decided to wander near the door as I was closing it too. So PETA would be all over me if they listened to the show. Put it that way. You are now texting to find out if the dog's okay, aren't you?
No, it was my mother. She was choking on food.
Oh, we went from dog falling down the stairs to mother choking on
Well,
food.
I heard the dog running down the stairs and the door open, but apparently it sounded like my mother was choking, so it was the girlfriend who ran up the stairs to make sure my mother was okay.
Okay, and is your mother
And the dog went running downstairs. I'm assuming so because no one's yelling or barging in, so...
So if this episode gets rudely interrupted and you hear a very clean cut put into it, you will know that she was not okay.
Yes.
So that being said, as TowManG mentioned, welcome back to another episode of the Towing Life podcast, episode 106. God, they keep getting higher and higher and higher.
I can't count that high. Good thing you just keep putting up new numbers.
I know. I wish there was a feature that would tell me what the last one is so I don't have to try and remember. Because our organization is absolutely on point. But welcome to episode 106 of the Towing Life podcast. Good time to mention before we get into it. As always, opinions, comments, questions, concerns are all welcome on the show. If you'd like to reach out to us, it is very easy to do. Visit us at www.towinglife.ca. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. I just want to make sure the is in the email. towinglife@gmail.com, or you can find our Facebook page by visiting us at the Towing Life podcast on Facebook. And don't forget, if you are watching over on the YouTube side, you can always comment down below. Be sure to hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe, do all those good things. If you don't like what you see, hit the thumbs down twice. Really let YouTube know what you think of us. Also, current things that are going on. We have the See You at the Show coming up September 15th and 16th in Kitchener, Ontario. Do not forget the PTAO annual Ontario Tow Show put on by the Provincial Towing Association of Ontario at Bingman's Conference Center, Kitchener, September 15th and 16th. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They've added so much. It's their 25th anniversary. You know that we will be there. We will have our cameras. We will have our microphones. And if you have anything or you want to just walk up and sucker punch G in the face for some dumb comment he has made in the last 106 episodes, he will be there just for that.
Likewise for him, too.
Absolutely. You come give me a piece of your mind. I will gladly debate anybody on camera, on microphone. If you come to me wanting to debate me on something, it better be willing to be recorded for the sake of the show. That's all I'm saying. You can come at me with whatever argument or discussion you want to have, and I will gladly have it with you.
I think we have a one-party recording policy in Ontario, so as long as you're okay with it being recorded, it's fine.
I am not going to record anybody without their consent. We may have the ability to in Canada. I am not going to apply that for the sake of the show.
Wow,
So
you're being moral for once? Wow.
Well, they're listeners of the show. I mean, if we really piss them off, maybe then they'll really listen to the show, but that is not the end goal. So do not forget, see us at the show coming up in September. By the time this episode airs, this
one's coming out on September the 6th.
This one's coming up on September the 6th. So hurry up and get your ticket. It is going to be next weekend. So be sure to get your tickets. We have one more episode that'll be coming out before the actual tow show. So be sure to get your tickets. Also, it's a good time to mention, I don't know why your mouth is moving, but you're not making any noise. Recovery of the month coming out every month. New episode, last episode of the month. We've got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Contest closes September 30th, 2023. So we will announce September's winner. We will keep the other winners hidden in October, November, December. But you need to get your submissions in before September 30th to be eligible
this month. You have less
December.
than 30 days to get your submissions in.
So hurry up.
For the chance to win for the next 3 months.
Yeah. So calendars, get your spot in the 2024 calendar that'll go on sale at the end of 2023. You'll also win a $50 Amazon gift card. One winner every month. If your company has won before, you can apply again. If you've won before, sure, apply again. It better be a good one. It better be better than the first one. But absolutely, you can win more than one. So don't be shy. Send over your submissions. Head over to towinglife.ca/recovery. Or again, even if you wanted to, email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Gmail.com?
Tell your friends, family, anyone who's in the towing industry. If they've got
Absolutely.
a fancy recovery, send it our way. What's the harm? It's going to take you like maybe 5 minutes out of your day to enter in thetowinglife@gmail.com.
And this isn't just open to American company or Canadian companies. This is America. This is France. This is Europe. If you're listening if you're our one friend listening from Germany that we get I see pop up on the analytics every week, submit one in from Germany.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. We got some European trucks to talk about today.
We do. We do. You know what? That actually transitions very well into what you wanted to talk about.
And we wanted to be talking about these for the last 2 weeks, I think. So I'm glad we're finally getting to them.
Okay. Well, tell us about your wonderful trucks. I'll work on getting them up on the screen.
Well, I feel sorry for the audio listeners here, because if you've never seen these cab over flatbeds with like a boom that comes out of the bed, or a slot at the back of the bed that pivots up to let your wheel lift like tilt way up past the actual bed, you're missing out. So if you're on the audio side, jump on over to the YouTube side just for this section to at least see the pictures. We might put them up on a Facebook post too. Maybe.
Well, let me ask you, did you at least take the time and find out who this manufacturer is?
No.
Well, that would have been a lot easier so that we can direct people to what they're actually looking for on Google.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you come across on Facebook and you scroll through all the comments to see if anyone has a manufacturer in there, and, well, you just can't find it. And to Google deck with boom, I'm not sure what would come up. But in theory...
My Google search is about to get corrupted, I'm not going to lie.
In theory, these pictures are a rollback truck with the bed up in its locks or down in the position to load a vehicle with a boom, a twin-cylinder extendable boom coming out of the center of the bed. Now, I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure it just runs off the same winch that's on the deck itself. Because if you had another winch tucked up in there underneath the deck, I just don't think that would fit. I don't know how any of this fits to begin with in between the bed rails and like the actual sliding bed unit. The amount of hydraulics in that bed unit is just mind-boggling for at least the two of them.
So for anyone listening, I don't want to get them to confuse, because I have seen it before on European tow trucks where they have like a high ab at the front.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. This boom is actually a straight stick boom that is integrated into when fully down in its down position is flush with the flatbed of the tow truck.
Yeah, like I've seen the trucks in Europe before, like the cradle trucks, where you would hook
all four wheels.
You would suspend them from the rims and everything with a little bit of spacer there to keep them away from the body panels. Those are cool, and I understand those in the tight European streets. You just don't have the room for this type of equipment. But equipment like this, I think it would be way too heavy on a single rear axle for it to be any beneficial use for us here, at least in Ontario with their weight limits per axle.
You think we're tough? You should see Quebec, but continue.
But I like it. I really do like it because it just adds more versatility to the actual bed. Even the smaller picture there, it doesn't. I don't think it's got the full boom that fits flush in the bed, but it does have a spot for the wheel lift to actually go up about 6-8 feet taller than the actual bed, which would really, if you could get a snatch block, or even better yet, not a snatch block, but an actual like shiv head up there to get height, just that alone would make it so that bed has so much more versatility to it, especially doing recoveries. And it's got stiff legs by the looks of it underneath the back of it there.
Like, well, the one thing that has always been the downside of a flatbed when it comes to recovery work, right? The advantages of a flatbed when it comes to recovery work is it's normally more stable. It gives you more anchorability.
Yep.
There's some options that you have depending on what setup that you have. I know personally we run NRCs. NRCs are a great recovery flatbed truck. You can do almost anything with it that you would do with your wrecker. The one disadvantage you have with them is height. You cannot give a upward pull, right? You're limited by the tail height of your bed in theory because of your side puller setup on how high it can be. You can go lower. There's options to do low pulls, different things like that, but you cannot go higher. So that truck, absolutely, you're right, opens up that versatility and gives you the option. Now, I don't know what the boom is rated for. I am currently not even looking at our podcast. I am scrolling through Google trying to find a manufacturer for the auto listeners or to get some sort of specs on it. So yeah, it really, the one disadvantage you would possibly have of a flatbed, it has gone and eliminated that. It has gone and given you that high angle. Now, just like any tool on the market, as soon as you start to get away from basics, what I mean by that is as soon as you start getting away from just your standard flatbed and your standard wrecker, I start to lose trust in operator abilities sometimes, right? You got to make sure you're putting this in the hand of a qualified operator or a trained operator. Because with that flatbed and that boom way up, I could just see guys doing all kinds of sketchy things.
Imagine you have a car loaded on the bed, strapped down, and you accidentally pull the wrong control, and that boom goes up underneath the car that's loaded on the bed.
That'd be awesome. I mean, you would think. I mean, you wouldn't. It looks like it's a fairly new design. You would think there's safety features built into that, right? Like we have that available on ours, where, like not on ours, but we have a roll-off truck. A roll-off bin truck, but it also acts as a dump box. I didn't know that was a thing. I was trying to unload the stuff that was in it, and I had it like being used as a roll-off and hanging it in the air with the doors open, trying to get the junk out. And somebody came out and pointed, you can just like, if there's a safety lock in it that once it's all the way forward and it's locked, so you can act it as a dump box. So I imagine this would have some sort of safety built into there as well. But no, it's like I said, look at the one photo in the top left corner. Right, I could just see some operator for whatever reason winching right up to the truck, and I don't know. I just see somebody doing weird stuff. I'm really curious how those hydraulics. I know that was the first thing I said to you when it came, because it like it's boom out. Like boom lifted with the bed all the way out. Which kind of hurts my brain.
Well, like the actual boom itself is just a square tube, and it's the same design as like most of our wheel lifts are, where the cylinder is inside the boom and extends it out.
Well, that part is easy. It's the lifting hydraulics going with it as well.
So the cross bracing on that bed has to be top notch, because you've got that cross brace, you don't have anything up until where it actually pivots on the bed, and then it doesn't look like you have anything until the actual rear of the bed. Now, if you look at the picture on the right, you can see that bed is very thick. So like how our normal bed rails are, it's also a dovetail bed. If any of you, I don't know if the one on the left is dovetail.
With slide out ramps, it looks like,
So the actual side rail of the bed, the whole bottom portion of that, other than your top rail, looks to be solid bed. Or at least it does in the picture. So it's not just your cross bracing or anything like that. So that's where they get the strength from, I'm assuming. But with that much bed, that girthy, thick of a bed, plus you've got at least 3 extra hydraulic cylinders, all the hydraulic lines, you're going to need a bigger pump probably. The weight limit on this truck is probably pretty up there before you load anything on the bed.
I'm still stuck on the fact that you said girthy, and that I feel like you're just trying to hit all the YouTube algorithm words.
Girthy.
I think you're thinking of the algorithm for the wrong websites, Shem.
Oh, okay.
I think that bumps you up on YouTube.
Well, it might work in some aspects. Who knows?
I can't for the life of me find this truck on Google.
I know.
If you're watching over on the YouTube side, or if we do create the social media post, please, if you know the manufacturer of this equipment, please let us know so we can go look up and do a little bit more research on it. I'm sure someone will say, I've seen that. It's this company. It's probably something Deutschwagen or something. I don't know what that means. I hope I didn't insult anybody.
But that's the one thing. Like with these Facebook groups, we see some stuff that's from the other side of the pond, if you will. And they've got some pretty neat stuff over there that we just don't see over here that just wouldn't work or isn't super practical, so it's never been brought over here. And it's stuff like this. Like, I really, really like, regardless of the boom in the bed or not, I really like the flap on the wheel lift. To be able to get your wheel lift to pivot all the way up to give you height right off the back of your tailboard.
No, I feel you. Check this guy out over here on the right. I don't know if that's your typical high ab style.
That is pretty much your typical high ab style with a sliding tilt bed.
Just with, like, that's a long extension on that. Because you can lift it up, looks like fully extended.
Yeah, that boom would be fully extended. That's just your stereotypical three extension boom for a high ab, which is even bigger out in Europe.
Yeah, no, the high ab work that they do and stuff, like they got they're almost like mini rotators for there. But yeah, I have looked at all kinds of search terms on YouTube. I cannot find the manufacturer. So if you ever seen this one, for our audio listeners, the flatbed with the boom that is in the middle of the bed, that we will pull back up. I mean, the audio listeners aren't going to see it, but yeah, with the middle of the bed like that, please send us who that manufacturer is. So that we can do some research on it, maybe reach out to them, talk to them, see what it's about, because I am very interested in that thing. It is an interesting looking machine.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer, and this is something else that we want to talk about that you have a strong opinion on, is the type of equipment that you have at your disposal to do certain things. And the company I work for used to be known just as the bed company. No matter what you called for, you were always getting a flatbed. No matter what you wanted, you were getting a bed because that's all the company had.
Okay.
Good and bad in a way. It's good because you kind of cornered the market. Oh, I want a flatbed. Who am I going to call? Well, this company only has flatbeds. That's all you're going to get, right? So it could be a marketing.
Right, so you don't have to worry about,
exactly, right?
An ignorant young operator like myself back in the day going, you don't need that.
Exactly.
Or an ignorant young operator like yourself. Well, I don't know if you're young anymore, but you're still slightly ignorant.
But something like this, to where I know the way that the towing industry is going, beds are becoming more prevalent because of stupid damage claims and low oil pans and just stuff that the manufacturer says shouldn't go on a wrecker. Now, granted, if the manufacturer says it shouldn't go on a wrecker, they're probably full of glue and they don't know what they're talking about. But if they say that it shouldn't be there and something happens when it is there, you have no liability to fall back on.
Well, no, let's also not forget that a flatbed can take two vehicles. So when you're looking at it from the side of a business standpoint and being profitable and being, you know what I mean, like advantageous, I don't know how many times I've double pinned long distance.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more than just, your ego involved.
If you have a bed that has the capabilities, which I just by the visual look of what I could even wrap my head around for like instances to where that would be handy, something like that would be beneficial to a company that runs pretty much only beds.
I'm missing your point. And what do you mean you're trying to wrap your head around a situation where a bed?
No, so like having that boom in the bed, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just so foreign to me. I've never thought that a flatbed would have a boom that comes out like that.
Well, it's 2023, right? Flatbeds have booms and wreckers have flatbeds.
Yeah.
Right? They're in the middle of transitioning to a flatbed identifies as a wrecker now.
Yeah, but like something like that would definitely...
don't dismiss that. That is gold.
So I am dismissing it because it's bullshit. Anyway,
it's not going to get us in trouble.
I know it's not, but it's getting away from the point here.
Okay.
Having a tool like that in your toolbox greatly, like, why do you need a wrecker other than dollies? But you have go jacks. If it's underground, as long as there's not too many undergrounds, like unless you are in the city where half your calls or a quarter of your calls are like underground stuff, why do you really need a wrecker at that point? You've got the height, you have the boom, right? For all your light duty towing, I'm not sure what that bed unit is actually capable of towing within limitations, but why do you need a light duty wrecker now if you have a bed like that?
You don't.
You don't. Right?
I'm still
So
not sure where
now
we're going with this.
you're going to be spending probably 250,
Oh yeah,
maybe
well, that
even
thing's not. Yeah, that
300,000
thing's
on a
not
truck
cheap.
like that.
No,
If
well, that
there's
thing's the price of a flatbed and a flatbed and some, obviously, because it's a flatbed.
But
And
you to look at a decent wrecker nowadays, you're looking at least 150, 180 new.
yeah.
If
So what are
something
you
like
saying?
that
Like,
was light enough to go down our roads here in Canada, I think it would do well.
that truck?
Yeah.
Again, you can't. This is pulling shit out of your ass because you don't actually know. We don't
That's
know
why I
what
said
that
if it's light enough to go down our roads here and can actually tow more than a smart car within weight limits here.
I'm sure it could.
Right?
It would. You throw that on a 20 TB chassis, you'll probably be good for, if that's an aluminum bed, which it looks like it is, right? You'll probably be good for, I don't know, 12,000 on the bed, 10,000 on the bed. Like, it would be more truck than what its payload would allow for.
Yeah.
But where that truck's disadvantage comes in is because, yeah, the extra weight and everything. And with that setup, you're not going to be wanting to drag sea cans onto there.
No.
Right? There's limitations in what it can haul to and different equipments and stuff. You'd have to go with the aluminum bed. I imagine that bed rating would not be as high as your standard aluminum bed without, that boom in the middle because of just racing and everything underneath. Or going to a galvanized steel or something of those sorts, just straight up steel bed. So yeah, there's pros and cons to every piece of equipment, right? And that is what makes a company versatile. Like the company that I'm at, I can tell you for sure the owner is not a huge fan of wreckers, period.
Yep.
But he sees a purpose of having one in the fleet, right? And whatever equipment that you can justify and bill for and profit from is good equipment.
Yep.
Right? Whether that is a wrecker, whether that's a flatbed, whatever is going to apply to your situation, there is no magic cheat code that you need 3 flatbeds, 2 wreckers, a skid steer, a bobcat, and this. Like, there isn't.
No.
It changes from region to region and area to area. So like us, we've been big believers. We had a load all for years. 4-wheel steer, extending load all, extend arm, right? And you can put a bucket on it. You can put forks on it. It had a lot of versatility. Great. But then we start running into situations where it can only do so much off-road.
Yeah.
So that's when we looked into a skid steer on tracks.
Didn't you get a telly skid?
Well, I got multiple skid. yeah, I have a telly skid, like an extendable arm skid steer.
On the skid steer,
yeah. On tracks.
Yeah,
So
those things are badass.
Oh yeah, the thing will go almost anywhere.
Little JCB, right? I think JCB is the only one that does it because it's got that weird one float arm.
Yeah. And if you got that bucket on that thing and you go out, you can go almost anywhere with it, because once you get stuck with the bucket and pushing yourself out with the tracks, you can almost get yourself out of anything. I don't know of a scenario where we've had to pull it out, where we haven't, other than if it's got like a load reaching way out and it's because it's tipping, something like that. But again, that was the equipment. Then we added a bigger loader so that we could have a bigger bucket for cleanups and different cleanup. It all depends on what your scenario is, right? There's advantages to expanding out, but you've got to extend out properly. First of all, you got to make sure that you have the manpower whenever the scenario comes for all the equipment. You also need the trucks to be able to haul equipment. You need, but what happens in a situation that you don't have that, right? Like, we have been very blessed as a company that we have a lot of equipment. We supply a lot of our own equipment. I cannot tell you the last time, other than for cleanup and different things, where we've actually had to call in a piece of equipment to regularly, like, to work actively in a recovery.
Yeah.
Right? Where possibly that piece of equipment is working hand in hand with one of our trucks, where it's a balancing act, it's a coordination act. There's that direct communication that's required. But what do you do in a situation like that, right? I know this is the thing you brought up before the show. Like, who's in charge?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'll come right out and say it's whoever called who. I mean, if I call Bob to come down with his backhoe, Bob, you're working for me. You're subcontracted out under me. This is my scene. This is my responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, you can tell me if I'm going to ask you to do something that your backhoe can't do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's your backhoe.
Yeah.
right? So if you're not going to do it, you tell me. I mean, if you're being a bit of a bitch, Bob, I won't call you for the next one if I really need to. But you tell me. I got a buddy whose dad, I feel bad, whose dad is named Bob. He drives backhoe. I don't think he listens, so we're good. But Bob, if you are listening, I love you. You're a great man. Right.
I've ran into situations like that more often than I'd like to admit. And 9 times out of 10, it's not us calling for more heavy metal pulling power. It's normally the owner of said vehicle that we're trying to recover
Okay.
has their own equipment, and they're like, okay, well, this isn't working. I'll bring out my own equipment and we'll work together on this.
Ooh,
Or
okay.
it's some guy's property, and he's like, well, I got my, what was it? It was like a small wheel loader, but it didn't have any brakes. So I had to keep on the throttle to keep tension. It was sketchy as hell, but it worked. So the one situation that we actually had that I'll go into, it was in the middle of winter, and I got a call for a barge that had floaten away from the dock.
Hey, did you go swimming?
No, I did not go swimming. So what we did is it was within 10 feet of the actual dock, but it was far, far out, and this barge has to sit right close up in so he can drive its excavator onto the barge to get it to the next island over. So we were able, I pulled out, I think it was about 125, 130 feet of cable, 2 lines out to the barge. We went onto the barge, we rigged. I started rocking it back and forth. I got it closer to when I can now snatch block my lines and get a little bit more pulling power. At this point, my truck lost its will to stay on ground and started sliding back towards the lake.
Okay, so that's called anchorability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was no longer able to anchor myself with the amount of weight that I was pulling. So I called for another flatbed. So I used a 20,000 pound flatbed in front of me to anchor myself, which I don't like doing because that's when shit breaks. And if shit breaks in that situation, you're breaking big shit, right?
Well, why is shit breaking in that situation?
Because a lot of times, especially like I've got a 5500 Ram with a 10-ton wrecker on it, and those
Yeah.
winches pull, they're 8,000 pound winches, but they definitely pull more than what they really should. Let's just say.
Okay. What's your line
So
rating?
if I've got a flatbed hooked up to the front end of my truck pulling down to keep all 6 of my tires planted on the ground in 4-wheel drive parked, you're really making that frame flex more, right? To where you always see the videos of people winching more than they should and the front tires come up, right? Well, that's just it finding its balancing point. But we've taken that away by holding the front end down. So now what's the weakest link? What's going to bend or break? Is it going to be the chain that's holding the front end down, or is it going to be the frame underneath my tow truck? You don't know. Hopefully it's the chain.
Well, it depends how you're like, are you boom up?
Oh yeah, boom up.
Oh yeah. So you're boom up. So you're
Because I got to get the barge on top of the ice to bring it in.
Okay, see. Jesus Christ, there's so much different that you can do here.
Right? So this is definitely the type of job to where we didn't have the equipment to get it done properly. To where a guy like you would show up with their 50-ton or 60-ton and just pull it to shore and say, here's your $1,500 bill. See you later. Bye-bye, toodles. Right?
So why
And
didn't
it's
you do
justified.
that? Why
Because
didn't
of
you
the
do that?
Hmm?
Why didn't you do that?
Because we didn't have the equipment.
Well, why don't you make friends with somebody who does and do it the right way?
I was told to get out there and do it.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where I can't. But
Right?
in a situation like that, like there is enough companies out your way where it is very simple.
Mhm.
Hey Joe, I need your 50-ton. What are you gonna run me?
Yeah.
This is the job we're looking at. Okay. You're gonna bill me, Joe, and I'm gonna bill my customer.
Yeah.
Right?
So it got to the point where that was going to be the next step. But the owner of said barge went and got his excavator. Right?
Yeah.
Because,
and this is where shit's gonna go real sideways.
well, see, I'm a firm believer. if you're bringing a piece of equipment to this battle, and we'll call it a battle because it's a battle between wits and will, you're going to use your rigging on your equipment,
but okay.
right? You're going to use your rigging, your equipment to hook up to the casualty, unless I'm just using you as an anchor and I'm coming back to you. Then I don't want you to move, and you are literally just more dead weight for me to pull off of.
Yeah, you can be a dead man, yeah.
Right? In this situation, I ran out of pulling power because my winch is maxed out with the anchor in front of my truck. So I needed more pulling power.
Okay, no, I'm listening. I'm still listening.
Right? So
Yeah.
we had his excavator hooked up, and he got more height, which got the barge moving, which is great. We're making good progress. I was winching side to side, back and forth. He was pulling up and in, and we were making progress. We shortened up the chain on the excavator, and then that chain broke. So then we go and we get another chain, and we hook up another chain. But now this chain is hooked up to a cable. Well, that cable breaks, and then that cable breaks, and just all his equipment seemed to be failing, right? Which, no fault of ours. We didn't have any equipment break during that recovery. So
Luckily, somehow.
Somehow, yes. I had a little 4-leaf clover up my ass that day. But it's whenever you add someone into the recovery process. So like, especially for like small companies, if you can't get it done yourself, you normally call your coworker and you come out and you got 2 trucks on the scene. That's not too much to coordinate. It really isn't. You got 2 guys, you're both tow truck drivers, you come up with a plan, you figure it out and you get the job done. Even in a company like you got all these guys and you got all this manpower, but you at least know them. You have that hierarchy saying, okay, well, I'm the boss on this, and you can come to me with ideas, but at the end of it, I say what we do, and we do it. And if it fails, well, then it looks bad on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got Billy Bob Joe and his loader just pulling for the heavens, especially in equipment that you can't really communicate back and forth, it really turns into a dicey situation. I don't really like doing
at the end of the day, it's okay. If Bob and his backhoe, I'm going to go back to my good friend Bob and his backhoe, if something were to fail on his end that would cause me damage to my truck, I'm still calling the shots.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If he's going to take responsibility, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, I don't know. I'm taking control on every recovery that I'm on. Mm-hmm. I'm taking control unless there's somebody there with more experience and more seniority than I do, which I gladly will turn over control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I do believe whenever I go to a scene where I have an operator that's already on scene,
yep,
my immediate thought, even if, you know, I don't care how green this guy is, isn't to take over the scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's to assess where he's at and what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
And if his plan is good, we'll go with your plan. If I can offer insight, I'll offer insight.
Yep.
But if I'm on scene and this guy, let me get my backhoe. Okay. But you're going to listen very carefully to me. And if you don't, this isn't going on. Like, well, in theory, you were putting yourself in a situation where you were risking your equipment for a bill that should have been higher because it should have been a different piece of equipment dispatch that you could have called somebody in to do.
Yep.
So whatever breaks on your truck in that scenario, I have no, like...
But that happens all the time in the towing industry.
It does, but it needs to stop. You're not helping the industry.
I know it needs to stop. But at the same time, we see guys do all sorts of things, just like this instance right here, this picture. It's a regular cab, extended cab truck, single rear wheel with a stinger on the back towing a flatbed. It's probably an owner-operator.
This guy's so overweight on his drives.
Yeah, he probably owns both the trucks. It's probably not for hire. But at the same time, like, you definitely need bigger equipment. Yeah. He's probably overweight. Well, he was guaranteed overweight.
He's on a single rear wheel. Of course he's overweight.
He's guaranteed overweight, but he got the job done. And unfortunately, when you get the job done like that, it inflates your ego a little bit. Oh, I could get away with it. I got away with it last time. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
we are a very passionate type of people to where we say, oh yeah, look at what my 5500 can pick up, right? I'm punching way above my weight class here, and we brag about that kind of stuff, right? Just the same way of I did a triaxle hydro truck buried in the mud down by a hydro pole. I did it with a 20 TB NRC in my truck and a counter like dead weight, and we pulled it out. It took us a long time because it was slow going, because it was way too much weight for us to be biting off, but we got it done. And we bragged about it, and we post pictures about it, and we're like, look what we accomplished, because it's a goal, right? Because we knew we were undermatched, and it's the standard David versus Goliath bullshit that we see all over the industry. It's like, look what this little truck can do, and it gives us lots of pride and say, hey, we got it done. But every time we do that, like you said, it's hurting the industry because, well, you're taking it away from a bigger piece of equipment that could have got it done. Even if you got it done safely, it probably wasn't safe or wasn't completely legal in one aspect or another. That
No, that's bullshit. Because you can make, I've been on scenes with some of the best where they will make a 50-ton dance that you're running it on the edge, but you're running within the numbers. There's running on the edge, but running within the numbers. Right? This little Johnny Cowboy there going down the highway with his single rear wheel is not, making it dance, but playing within the numbers. He's just being an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? And does no good for the industry as a whole.
No, but I'm saying like more so for the recoveries. I use that as an example. Plus, I want to show the
but
picture.
even recoveries, like I said, what is everyone so afraid to bill for shit for? That's what a lot of it comes. That's honestly what it comes down to. If it is a job for a 12-ton and you're doing it with your, you know what I mean, your little Dodge 3500,
yeah.
Why? So you can charge less?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're doing. So the next time that Jean-Guy buries his rubber boots out in the field and he can't figure out why the bill is $400 more because it's what it should have been the first time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not doing the industry any, like, everyone is, it's this fucking race to the bottom, and they do it with stuff like this.
I've heard multiple people say, multiple different operators, and I've caught myself saying it before. It's like, if I can't get this done, your bill is going up at least $1,000 if I got to call out a heavy. Does that mean that a heavy should have been called out in the first place, or should
if a heavy is required? Then sure.
But how do you know if a heavy is going to be required or not until you put
fucking
a cable?
Training, with assessments of a scene, with calculating resistances, and not just anchoring your truck to another truck. Right? Like, with proper fucking training is honestly how you know.
No.
Right? Like, you think some of these companies, and I know companies get a reputation, oh, look, they're just sending out every truck. And don't get me wrong, there's companies that will just send 7 trucks to a scene so they can bill for every one of them. There's definitely those companies. But then there's companies that send out the equipment based on what the job requires.
Yeah.
Right? I've had this argument 100 times where I have seen coworkers of mine do recoveries and I go, why the hell did you use that? And the line was, well, I had it, I might as well use it. And I fought that for a long time. I'm like, why? I could have done that with this truck on an equal level. Equal level, close. Like, I could have done this job, but it was one of those, I could have probably done this job safely. Yeah, well, I know I could have done it safely with this. So why do we play in those margins? Why do we purposely, if it's the only thing I can see is to fucking make good Facebook videos that are going to get roasted on the internet because of dumb shit that you do, like Jean-Guy with his single rear wheel towing his F350 flatbed down the highway, right?
Anytime,
like other than for that, I don't know why the hell you would not just send a proper truck. That's a dude trying to save a buck is what that is. That is not, oh, I can do it with this truck. No, that's just a jackass that doesn't want to pay to probably tow his own truck.
I'm not sure if you've ever really watched Highway Through Hell.
100%.
But for a couple seasons there, Jamie didn't really have the best of fleets, to be fair.
No, but Jamie understood how to operate those fleets.
Yes. But he's also, some instances, he's got 5 different trucks on him, and the trucks are like all jacked up in the air, pulling on something that just won't move.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
He also don't always believe everything on TV.
I know. It's a TV show.
Yeah.
But a lot lot of shit like that happens. And a lot of times, those are stuff that we brag about. And you see the trucks, like with the Heavy Rescue 401, I see lots of comments saying, oh, well, I could have done that with one truck, and they've got 3 there, and all that kind of stuff. And I think everything that we're kind of talking about in this episode all comes down to the amount of bashing and the thoughts and feelings of other operators saying, oh, well, I could have done it differently. I could have done it this way. The way you did it was wrong. This is the way you should have done it. And not saying, well, hey, that probably wasn't the correct way of doing it. Maybe think of doing it this specific way. And instead of saying, like we do, you're stupid, it's dangerous, and just belittling the guy.
I get that, right? I get that there's 1,000 right ways, or 100 right ways and 1,000 wrong ways.
Yeah.
Right? We can make that argument until the cow comes home.
Mhm.
Until the cows come home. Jean-Guy and his fucking single rear wheel is not one of the 100 right ways, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? I think we can both agree on that.
Yep, we can.
I would absolutely tear one of my guys for doing something like that.
Mm-hmm. Just because you can pick it and your front end stays somewhat on the ground doesn't mean you should.
Yes. So, that being said, on behalf of myself and the wonderful man, Mr. TowManG, don't be Jean-Guy with the single rear wheel hauling the E350, the F350 flatbed. Right? Do things properly, do things safely. Come at us, see us at the show. You can voice your opinion on where we got it wrong, where we got it right. Until then, we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Toodles. Your strong opinion is showing.
Yeah, well, it's stupid.
You're stupid.
You're stupid.